Hello, Patricia Dancing Elk Walls here for Earth Woman, my Earth Woman channel on Conscious Awakening Network. And I wanted to take this opportunity to share something with you that's personal, but not personal. It's also global. And I know that because I've spoken with some of my spiritual circle about this event, and I've witnessed it happening with other people. Before we begin, though, I think that I should open this because this is going to be a sacred circle. I want to open it with some frequencies and codes, and I will be offering some throughout this because what's going on is very very important right now. It's very important that we pay attention. So, and it's interesting that today is the 4th of July, and around me, all around me, there are fireworks going off. And so, if you hear that in the background, it's not gunfire; it's fireworks. I don't know why the beings that I work with chose to pick this time to bring this awareness to you, but I do know that there's a reason for it. It is a shielding of sorts, this noise. Anyway, let's begin. Ande helai e ko koi bebe ashaka. Anche peandi bodoroi la aya andahin kai. Amewa e amahshe atake ala yungoeva. Bea mo I baba he ale ache aleki iku. Gea maya wone me ata he ala ye biwa. He ho e me awash eshte ko ele bi untaba. Hane me wende be hatai na ko ilibiki aye e me baye asha de e tu kale be yua. Thank you. So I've noticed for myself again, and a lot of people in my circle, and perhaps even outside of my circle, have become less sociable and participatory, and it seems that we've all become very reflective and keeping to ourselves. And on a personal level, I've been going through a life change transition for the last year. And in that life change, it's changing locations, changing my home, my relationships, all of that. And in doing so, I've had a lot of time to reflect. And so this latest, they're calling it enumeration of me, and I love it when the beings throw in words, right? This latest enumeration of me, I could say is because of my life change, but it is not. It is not. It feels deep. It feels different from that. And so I found that although I am still speaking at conferences, I still have clients, I'm still creating small gatherings in my in the area where I am. I'm still giving presentations. I'm still writing books. I'm still doing all of the things that I did, but it is almost a forced effort now because I am not as sociable as I was prior, and I can't say that it's because of the walk-in. And if any of you know about walk-in phenomena, and if you don't, do some research. Sheila Seppi, who is the Conscious Awakening Network founder, developer, owner, administrator, all of those things. is to me, she is the expert in walk-in phenomenon. So if you're curious about that, please, she's written 2 books on it now, so check out those books. For me, I've experienced in my conscious awareness 7 of these walk-in slash soul exchanges. And just to touch on that, my awareness is that it is another part of me. It is not something outside of me. When I say soul exchange, what I'm talking about is another of my soul expressions, right? Everything from my monad, my oversoul. These are variations, aspects coming in to fulfill a mission that needs to be fulfilled, and there is a different awareness that is required to do this. That's the short explanation. So what I was saying was that this change in me, I have had what some would call a walk-in experience in the last year, but it has nothing to do with this latest phase of not being sociable, of withdrawing. And it's not depression. It's not age related. I mean, I've hit 70 this year, but it's not age related. It is just simply something that has come to my awareness, and I want to share it with all of you. So when I asked my higher guidance what their awareness was of this global inward turn that isn't personal, but it is personal, but it's also collective. What I was told was the truth of it is it's both a period of growth and a moment where interference energies are trying to exploit the transition. So when I went in and asked, and I'm a channel, I go in and ask for myself, but I also ask other channels sometimes what their awareness is, because as a human being, we very often want confirmation that we know what we really know, right? And so I do go in occasionally and ask others for their awareness. And it felt as though there was some interference from outside influences as far as this need to go inside, right? And so I did ask, is this a program of separation, division, suppression? Because there have been those throughout his story, right? Or is it a period of growth for us? In other words, I was feeling very curious about it and wondering if this period of isolation is for our own growth and benefit, or if it was something outside of us that was controlling us. Now, there's a lot going on this planet, on Mother Gaia right now, and some of it is in our control and some of it is not. But you do have to remember that we agreed to be here. That's the most important thing that I very often remind myself of, that I agreed to be here at this place, this time in his story. I agreed to play this part and hold the energy for the planet and humanity. So I'm not whining about all of this. I have clear awareness of why I'm here and why I'm going through this, but I also sometimes am curious. And this was one of the curious times. And I wanted to share with all of you what the awareness was that came through. So So let's break it down in multiple layers, right? So the inner pull is real and it's sacred. This widespread withdrawal that we're witnessing is not laziness, it's not disconnection or avoidance. It's a soul led recalibration. I want you to think about that. And many advanced souls, especially grid workers, light workers, light language transmitters, temple code holders, all of those are being drawn into this void, into this cave, into this crystallis, uh, because we are preparing, right? And there are a lot of times, I mean, for myself, but I can look back, there are a lot of times when I withdraw and retreat. And I know many of my spiritual family do the same thing. They just come up missing one day, and they may resurface 6 months later, like nothing ever happened, and we don't miss them, but we do miss them. So why is this happening? It's happening because there's a massive grid reweaving happening right now. And in order to realign us with the organic timelines that were required, so we're required to detach from noise, from distortion, from false identities. And this includes our old social roles, our external validation loops, and outdated community dynamics. I mean, have you found that you're not drawn to the same circles? And again, it has nothing to do with age. There are a lot of people who never grow out of being a party animal, for example, but I just don't fit into the same categories that I used to fit into. And then there's the awareness that interference loves isolation, right? So for many of us, this is the gestational period, the crystallis, right? A phase between, a pause between phases of outward service where we're not retreating, we're regrouping at a higher frequency. So everything that I'm sharing with you, it's a good thing that you can go back and listen to this again, because I tend to not talk in circles, but I'm a storyteller. So sometimes I go around and around and I eventually get to the point of everything. But going around and around is a sacred way of sharing and bringing you to that inner place of knowingness. And so if you'll just bear with me, there is a point to all of this. So there is an awareness that interference loves isolation. The interference that we're talking about is interference from outside forces, i.e., the program of separation, suppression, isolation. It's not always self-imposed, but sometimes it is self-imposed, which is what brought me here today, right? Because I was wondering, is this self-imposed or is this from outside interference? And I do a pretty good job of protecting myself from outside interference. But I do live in a third dimensional, material, dense world. And so in doing so, I am subject to influences. The thing is discernment. You have to be able to discern, is this me or is this outside of me, right? And then you deal with it accordingly. So while the inner pull to isolate and not socialize is legitimate, there are also entity fields. There are also AI distortions. And I'm not talking about the AI that many of us are using right now, such as ChatGPT and the what are some of the others? Um, it's right here on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, there are a lot of AI programs out there, and don't go into that dark hole because, I mean, look at this. In my years on this planet, we've been using one form of AI or another for most of our life, this life, existences. Um, Electricity, AI, right? Computers, AI, your telephone, your television, it's all AI generated. It's all artificial intelligence generated. We've been using it for all of our existences in this body that we're in right now. So don't go down that dark hole about AI. There, you also need to use your discernment with AI, right? So while the pull is legitimate, right, to self-isolate and regroup yourself and recalibrate yourself and connect in, that is a good thing, right? But there is also a level of interference coming from outside sources. There is a level of psychic suppression programs that are also active, especially targeting our leaders, our sensitives, our grid keepers. And these programs are aimed to feed the illusion of loneliness. They're aimed to reinforce the program of scarcity, so that you're not independent anymore, right? That little voice that whispers to you, I can't trust anyone. And so it is meant to collapse collaborative timelines through mistrust, doubt, fatigue. It's meant to prevent soul tribe gatherings, ceremonies, and cross-pollination of codes, which is a big thing right now, right? I mean, the language of light has become more prevalent in our community. I myself remembered, because everything is within us, we just have to remember that we know it, right? So I myself remembered the language of light, that I can identify around 2015. And so, and there's been a huge push of people remembering and recalibrating this gift of language and connection just in the last, well, that has been 10 years, I guess. So there's been a big push of it. Anyway, so yes, this season of growth and connection has been hijacked in some way. And the program of suppression has been amplified. I mean, look at what's going on, no matter what country you're in. Look at what's going on with your government right now and how they are enforcing programs on us that we don't agree on, we don't agree to. And again, don't go in that dark hole. There's a reason for everything. And we agreed to be here. We agreed to participate in this grand experiment that we're going through, this exercise. So it just depends on what part you're playing. But when you're aware of it, you can discern the difference between solitude and sabotage. That's where we're going with this. So what are some of the signs that you're in growth, that you're in a place of chosen solitude in the chrysalis stage versus being sabotaged? So when you are in the chrysalis stage, when you are in your sovereignty, right, and you have you're imposing this period of solitude and isolation on yourself, you feel a peace in the stillness, even if it's unfamiliar. You're receiving visions and connections and memories, or maybe you are like me, right? Maybe you are reevaluating. Maybe you are looking back on your life, your relationships, and and looking at how you can do it better in the future. Not beating yourself up about it, right? Not sitting in shame, guilt, blame against yourself or anybody else in your relationships, but looking at it as a tool for growth, right? And healing. So even if it's unfamiliar, you're receiving visions, memories, guidance in the quiet times. Your body feels like it's purging or regenerating. Now, some, just to break in here, some of my relatives are experiencing periods of extreme body pain. They're experiencing periods of their likes and dislikes changing, even in the way of food. They're going vegan, right, where they used to be carnivores. So this period that you have put yourself, and we're talking about ways to identify when you have initiated this, right? Your body feels like it's purging or regenerating. You're preparing new offerings, new codes, and new ways of being. That's what you're doing right now, right? So what are some of the signs that you are in suppression from an outside source, or what they call hijack? You feel numb, you feel apathetic, you feel disconnected from source, your social nervous system feels fried or permanently shut down. And there's that loop of no one understands me. What's the point of all of this? I'll just do it alone. And you've lost clarity about your purpose or calling, and you're blaming everyone else for whatever situation you're in. And you're sitting in a place of hopelessness and helplessness. That's not self-imposed, right? That's not a place of sovereignty. That's when other agendas are being pushed on you. In that way, that all things happen for a reason, and this is no different what we're all going through. There is a choice point in your evolution. So you can honor with the withdrawal as a sacred cocoon, a chrysalis. You can cleanse the interference trying to poison it, and emerge with new clarity and higher alignment. You're not meant to stay hidden, not for any long periods of time, but you are meant to be refined. You are meant to be burned clean of distortion before rising in full presence again. And the final insight into all of this is that this wave is not meant to divide us. It's a contraction, giving birth. It's a contraction before convergence. And when the frequency stabilizes, and it will stabilize, you'll feel called to regather with the right ones. But this time, not from obligation or shared wounding, which has been a lot of our patterns before, trauma bonding, some have called it. But you will be drawn to other people that you have a coherence, a soul coherence with, right? Until then, recognize this place that you're in. Don't shut yourself off completely. Crack the door a little bit, right? So the beings that I work with, my higher self. I don't know why. I still call them the beings. I started calling them the beings several years ago when I needed to identify where my information was coming from. Some people call them guides and helpers, archangels, otherworldly beings, animal spirits. My clear understanding and awareness, and see, I've even moved from the term understanding to awareness now. So my awareness is that um, they are all higher aspects of me. If there's nothing outside of me, there's nothing outside of you, right? Well, in some cases there are, but those of you who are listening to me, you are the ones who were called to do this work, to bring the planet back into alignment. You are the light workers, the grid workers, the calibrators, the code carriers. That's, but we are still subject to interference. And that's what this short video is about, dealing with the interference. So they wanted me to share with you an invocation of sovereign stillness. So this invocation is meant to help anchor this phase with intention, to help ensure that our fields are stabilized and protected from that outside interference. Because it is a real thing, right? It does exist just as we do, and it has just as much right to exist as we do. Thing is, again, that word discernment, right? You know it exists, and you know that in your sovereignty, it does not have the right to affect you or interfere with you. Sort of like the nosy neighbor, right? You can't keep, sometimes you have like a coworker who's just intent on destabilizing you with comments, with sabotage on the job, or you have a neighbor. You've purchased this $300,000 home or more, and you get saddled with this one neighbor who always causes problems for you, either noise pollution or doesn't keep up their property in the way that you keep up yours, or it's what they're doing is overrunning and overriding your own home. Those are destabilizers, whether it's physical or whether it's the invisibles. They're destabilizers, right? And how you deal with that destabilization sets the platform for everything for you, right? Someone can only someone can only destabilize you if you allow them to, right? You're a sovereign being, and it's all about your reaction. So we have this invocation that you can come back to anytime that you want. And it's to help anchor this phase of your life with intention, to help ensure that your fields are stabilized and protected from that outside interference, right? So let's anchor this phase of sacred withdrawal, this chrysalis, as a protected, sovereign, and intentional act of your oversoul alignment. So now, if you can get yourself into a quiet space, you can center yourself, and you can repeat after me, or you can just allow the words to settle in. You can just have the intention of allowing my voice to bring these codes, these frequencies into your own fields of awareness and knowing and sovereignty. Okay. Share mohem pataya na namokohela in tuama. Anjebele aku ihipi uhunti unomai. Elayam paya enelonki para rahu ita. Duhe e me ahoe ba ashe echikiliwa. Me wun te alaye che akapiawa. Kun jipehelea a no mi ampai an cheki ihili untuana. I step willingly into the temple of silence, not to disappear, but to remember. I claim this phase as sacred, a withdrawal into oversoul alignment, not isolation, not suppression. I stabilize now into my true frequency. All fields of mimicry, deception, suppression, and despair, you are not of my origin. You hold no contract here. You are null and void in this space of remembrance. I call forth now the light of my oversoul, the mirror of my Sophia, the sword of discernment. The womb of stillness to shield and sovereignly seal me in this phase of holy realignment. This is not retreat. This is return. This is sovereign return. This is not aloneness. This is a recalibration within the one source being that is me. I hold firm. I hold in wholeness. And when it is time to rise, I will not rise fractured. I will rise encoded in coherence, sovereignty, alignment. And so it is. Debuyen tahinai e gui lehe shun tabaye namaan. Unimian pai e che kaili untiama. Ohea mai e shelaku indidi. Dea uhea lai e makaye neme. Un jebalai e shono hui neme e kopai babai e. Andamaye neme e kuba. Un chelea shaladebe e un deme ambaya. Un ki amaye che kuma. Damanaye di kale un jema. Ba mamaye nene ki unga. Unchelia shumiamba unda deme unkuima umba domelaye daye niaki umba shomaye ne inkila umba domadara bende aneme unta umba shamarare ele ki hungo umba meunde meunshi umba. Now you can choose to say this in the morning. You can choose to do it before you go to sleep. You can use this invocation whenever you're feeling unsteady. Some suggestions of how to do it is to stand um, in a space where you feel supported, maybe feet on the ground, barefoot, outside on the grass. If you can't do that, standing just on the floor, on the carpet, any of that. In other words, standing in your sovereignty, standing firm. That's the point here. That's the intention, right? So if you're outside, you can face the direction of the moon or the sun. If you're inside, face a wall that you feel love for, right? A painting, a statue, an altar, a plant, you know? It doesn't have to be anything grand or staged or any of that. In your mind, imagine that you are standing in sunlight or moonlight. Imagination is everything. So place your hand over your heart and your solar plexus. I didn't do that, but you can do it. They're telling me now after the fact, okay? So place your one hand over your heart and one over your solar plexus. You can do that. And while I'm talking with my hand over my heart, I can feel the vibration. I've also noticed that if I put my hand over my third eye, over my forehead and my crown, that I can also feel the vibration. So whichever one feels more comfortable to you. You can surround yourself by candles. You can make it ceremonial if you choose to. I tend to do everything off the cuff. I'm not good about ceremonial, but it's up to you. Whatever works best for you, do that, because this is for you. This is about you, right? So I hope that you will check back for other videos that I'm doing, other sharings that I have. I mentioned that in my self-isolation, one of the things is that I have not been good about making my videos. So I should, part of this agreement with Conscious Awakening Network is that I will create one video a week, and I have not been good about that, but I'm going to turn over a new leaf. So please check back with my channel, and there should be new videos, new experiences here for you. Can't promise it's going to be weekly, but there should be new experiences here. These energies that I'm working with now, they are giving me a lot of downloads of information, frequencies, alignments, and the messages that I need to be sharing those, even when I don't want to. So I'm going to try to be better. So please check back. And until then, my heart is with you. And I wish you blessings, love, joy, happiness, freedom, and prosperity. I shall see you all soon.